Sing, hear, and speak. Know evil, you need to know evil to truth seek. Unbelief we must reconcile. See, hear, and speak. No greater cause than to let the secret of love's light leak. Unpause no more, open the truth and cry out. See, hear, and speak. No blind light to lose your way. No deaf ear to truth today. No voice that's hard, let me hear you say. See, hear, and speak. See, hear, and speak. See, hear, and speak. Always good to have a change, a slightly different intro. It's not permanent for the 5th episode of Hope Out of Trauma. Mel, how are you?
I'm very good, Ray. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you very much. And that is a song that's already out but is upcoming as well.
Okay.
Born out of the very, very popular used phrase, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Yep.
And for me, I think that's one of those throwaway phrases that has been indoctrinated into the consciousness of humanity. You know, effectively turn a blind eye, turn a deaf ear. You know, don't say anything.
Yeah.
And I feel, of course, massive trauma, tragedy, miscarriages of justice, much injustice has come about as of those thoughts. People turning a blind eye, a deaf ear, not saying anything. And that on perhaps a basis that applies to everybody, which is a question you asked at the end of episode 4, which was, why is it that we feel at times it's difficult to say, I'm feeling anxious about something, or I'm having a panic attack about something? You raised the question, Mel, which is such a good one because it's so true. What are your thoughts? What have your thoughts been on why do we do that? There's no criticism, no shaming or anything like that. It's just a discussion, as always. Yeah.
Well, I think you've summed it up with the 3 wise or unwise monkeys. I think we are always taught. We're not actually always taught. We just grow up thinking we can't show our emotions. Maybe we can to our close family, but outside of that, it's very hidden, isn't it? It's something that just was in my teens and young 20s, a long time ago. Didn't talk about it. You certainly didn't cry with friends or let anything out. No emotions. And I can remember my grandparents being very stoic in the fact that you knew they were miserable, but not because they would say they were miserable, but because their body oozed it in a way that you could pick up on it. And I think as well with that, people tend to misread signals from somebody who's maybe having a panic attack or feeling anxiety. People can misread you, think that you're off, that they don't like you. I don't know. Maybe it's also a little bit of feeling inadequate because people don't tend to share. want to share your anxieties or the fact that you have panic attacks with somebody who looks like they're so together in life, and have got everything, it's just dandy. It's very unlikely that is the case. But I think it's easier just to sit with anxiety on your own for many, isn't it? Not for me.
True. That's so true, because that appearance is a contradiction, isn't it? As in, if we're trying to do that, everybody else at times, or many other people are trying to do the same thing. So you've got lots of people knowingly yet unknowingly distancing themselves from emotional experience because they feel that other people are not having an emotional experience, which could be the case for some, but I would suggest not many, and certainly not all. And I think that appearance, we very much, and we've lived in it for all of our lives, and when you listen to others from other generations, a long time where appearance is everything. A couple of thoughts came into my mind. One just then was the hyacinth bouquet. I can't remember the actress's name, but keeping up appearances. You mentioned stoic, and I'll tell you what, I keep seeing, particularly in Facebook, but of course other social media platforms are available. And for men, I would say primarily this is targeted, this stoic practice. So, like when you get the adverts about, join a gym and do this 6-week program and become this fitter version of you. And there could be other things like that. There's loads of those adverts going around. There's this one about following the stoic practices. And I think inherently that's another modern day indoctrination, influence of, you've got something wrong with you if particularly, but not only exclusively, as a man, you're expressing emotion. And that still exists. I remember that when I was at school. You're a sensitive young lad writing poetry. And keep that on the down low. Don't be sharing that with people, because and it still exists now. You've got to be strong. You can't demonstrate any weakness. So I guess probably early on in our discussion, because also we'll be talking about other things, how do we individually, because I think we've definitely identified, and I think it's an established fact anyway, that we all try to put on this display, and beneath there might be signs showing that others can see, but still we don't necessarily want to share. How can we make that easier for each other? That's I think the question.
I mean, there's a couple of things there, isn't there? It's looking to see how other people behave and how much they will share. Often makes you analyze whether you should talk or whether you shouldn't talk. I think personally, that our generation, and I'm saying 50s and 60s, is notoriously bad for men not sharing how they're feeling. I know that the suicide rate for younger men is much higher, but I do feel like they don't tend to hide their emotions that much. They tend to, a little bit like me, overshare at times about how they're feeling, and I think that's a good thing for them to feel like they can. But I think for them to be able to approach you, they have to know that, first of all, you're safe, that you can give them that reassurance that it's okay, you can talk, it's not going to go any further, I'm going to listen to you. not to undermine what they've told you, because whatever the reason is for what they need to share, whether that's anxiety, whether it's grief, whether it's the breakup, it's important to them and it's affecting their life. And I think we have to just see everybody as, for what it is, that somebody that's struggling with their mental health, because anxiety is part of your mental health. It's your well-being, isn't it? I would hope that the stigma attached to that nowadays has gone as far as counselling is concerned, because there was a very long period of time that if you wanted to go and see a counsellor, first of all, it wouldn't work, and you were a weak person for not being able to hold it together. So I think nowadays it's much more readily available, and it's a good thing, and people need to be encouraged to go and see a counsellor if they're feeling like they need to talk in depth. Because although we can be a friend and although we can open ourselves up for people to share, we're not always going to be the right person to give the advice at the end of it. And all we can do is point them in the right direction. If it's something we can handle, like for instance, I've got friends who struggle to go out because of their anxiety, is not to put pressure on them to do that. They need to be in a good place, and I need to accept that they're not in a great place at the moment. It's nothing personal. It's just life. And I need to give them the time and the space to be able to feel better within themselves and check up on them. We've got a bit of a nasty habit of somebody sharing how they're feeling, us saying that's terrible and giving them an ear for a couple of hours. And then maybe weeks pass before you hear from them. And then at the end of the line, it's, oh, how are you?
Yes. So like a shelf life, it's got, that experience, that even knowingly or unknowingly. Because of course we're orbiting in our own space, so to speak, aren't we? We're not as even the best friend, even the best friend in the world, and the closest family member, we're still dealing with what we're dealing with. And I think that's a lovely thought that you've said, which is not a loaded question. I'm thinking of a loaded question, which I know not many people would do, to be fair, so it's a bit pointless. But have you got over that thing yet? That's obviously not the question that we'd be doing. So, how are you doing? How are you doing? Hope all is good. Which could seem a loaded question, but it's a genuine, opens up a space for that to be responded to in any way. I'm feeling much better, thank you, and/or things haven't improved much, or however that person might share it. But I think it's a lovely thought to.
But just going back to what you've just said as well, the worst mistake to make ever is, oh, well, it'll get better, it'll be easier, just get over it. Choose not to be sad, and then you'll feel happy. I don't know how many times I've heard that. Smile. It's not the end of the world. Actually, for some people, it is. That's how they feel. Sorry, I'm getting texts flying in, and my phone keeps pinging.
Internally, I thought that was people kind of responding or something. Then, but not yet. We like that. That'd be lovely when people do. But internally, when somebody says, it's a smile. Life's not over yet.
Cheer up.
Well, cheer up. You think, well, maybe mine, but if you carry on with that kind of stuff, yours could be. Could be. So already I'm feeling when that type of thing is said, actually that's layering greater anxiety and tension on,
Yeah.
because
And that
if
is
it were,
not a safe person to talk to.
no, no, and if it were
Yeah.
that easy, we would have done it.
Yeah,
So there are
absolutely.
degrees of that, and it depends. And I think that's also an important thing to acknowledge. So there's not like a sliding scale, but of course there are some more extreme experiences, and that's where you say professional support could come in, because then a person is dedicated more
Yeah.
to being able to support that person and give them one-to-one, because I think there's guilt attached, isn't it? There's guilt attached to feeling anxious. It's similar to what we were talking about last time. I at times get anxious about certain elements of the things I love. And some people's solution to that would be, well, don't do it then.
Yeah.
If you feel concerned and anxious about a particular aspect of a thing, well, don't do it. And I think we've all heard that solution, maybe, possibly at times. We might have given that solution in a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, perhaps in the past.
Yeah.
But I feel this allowance of time and emotion and feelings exist.
Yeah.
So if they exist, why would we want to try to destroy them and ignore them? So the choice is for us and for others to, exactly as you said, create the time and space.
Yeah.
To allow those feelings, and also over a period of time, which I thought was a lovely thought that you said. Over a period of time, how are you? How are you doing? How
Yeah.
are things going? That checking. I mean, that to me, as I'm listening to that, is the sound of a proper friend.
Oh, well, I think from experience, not so much for myself, but for people that I have listened to in the past, I think we can, as soon as they say, oh, I've been to see the doctor, I've been put on antidepressants, we think, oh, that's it, brilliant. But they could take up to 6 weeks before those tablets start to have an effect on that person. And it can be a constant battle up until that point. And anxiety doesn't necessarily mean that you just don't want to walk out your front door. It can be anxious about seeing people, being in a crowded room, about it becoming overwhelming. And it's a slippery slope, isn't it? Where it can start off just by thinking, oh gosh, there's a lot of people in here. And then, oh, my heart's beating faster and I've got to get out. And then by the time you get out, you're in a full-blown panic attack. And I say that only because I've heard other people's experiences. Yeah. I can only recall of one time where I genuinely know I had a full-blown panic attack, and it did warrant my friend screaming down the phone at me, stop, because there was no other words in that moment that would have brought me back. And it was the morning where our foster baby had died, and after we'd phoned all the normal people, the social workers, the ambulance, the police, everybody, and the young mum had gone off with the baby to hospital, I was stuck in my own head, and it was pure panic. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to feel. So I phoned my good friend Leslie and just started screaming down the phone, the baby's died and I'm feeling like this. And then it was just screaming, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So it warranted her screaming, stop, just stop, for me to freeze and think, actually, yes, I've got to get myself together. I've got my kids downstairs. I've got the police downstairs. I've got to get myself together. And that in that moment really helped and I knew it came from a place of love. And I think there are going to be some circumstances where you do have to be firm with somebody and say, you've got this, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Either way, it's an interruption. It's an interruption of the current rhythm.
Yes.
So whether it is, as we've talked about before, which I remember you very eloquently talking about, the importance of listening, being a loyal listener.
Yes.
It might have
A
even
privilege.
been episode 1, a privilege, exactly. So it could be that we interrupt the rhythm of the anxiety, and of course I'm fractionally attaching that to the heart as well, because it can have that experience, kind of palpitations, and of course it can be as extreme as that, as something that checks and alters that pattern, that interrupts it. So it could be soothing, sitting, listening, creating space, or it could be a little bit of something that's, draws attention. I'm not talking about the old films where it's like a slap across the face. That's of course a bit extreme, but something that brings somebody to. So that might have a variant of possibilities. So I think there's a comment opportunity, because I want to share this. I had this thought just a moment ago, which is a being human contribution box. So I'm not now rattling a can with money in it and saying, give us your money. I'm not doing the charity thing like that. But what I am doing is a comment version of a charity box, a contribution box. And I see comments as that. Whatever I do in social media, TikTok, YouTube, all platforms, I love it when people comment. It's genuinely my favourite thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 0 likes and more comments. The likes don't matter to me. They genuinely don't. So I'm holding out this box, this contribution box, to those who are with us, joining us, listening, of suggestions to help each other if we knowingly know somebody's experiencing anxiety, or we unknowingly, we can sense. In a sensitive way, I'd love people to populate the comments, pop into this contribution box your experiences of good ways that we can be sensitive in helping somebody who is experiencing anxiety.
Or even what helps them. That
Great point.
There are so many people with anxiety that are able to say, this, I would find this helpful, this would be unhelpful. There's also different types of anxiety, isn't there? There's the child going into a new school for the very first time. There's somebody who's gone through a lot of trauma and as a result has anxiety. The one that I was talking about with the sudden shock anxiety, it's very different from that ongoing anxiety. You can't tell them to stop. So it would be very useful if people could, from both sides, how you deal with somebody who is struggling, or if you struggle, what would help you. That would be very useful. I think people would find that very useful.
And very powerful. I think that clarification of those who are experiencing it, what would help. That's to some degree even more powerful, because those are the people who are experiencing or have experienced. So I think, that's really, really good. Really good.
Which should really swing us onto the fact that we had a very brief conversation during the week about your level of anxiety and how you struggle with anxiety. So as somebody who is an oversharer, me, and doesn't tend to struggle with anxiety that much, I'm keen to know how you feel when you get anxious and the kind of things that make you feel anxious?
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to share some of that now. I will, because
Yeah.
thank you for asking. But we're actually going to do. You're going to ask me as many and any questions that you want in our next episode. Call it an interview if you like,
Right.
or a chat. I have had a number of interviews in the past. I have, and I know I will in the future. But I've tended to, more often than not, with a previous podcast I've done, interview a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So we had a chat about this as well, and said the next episode, episode 6, effectively, for want of a better expression, you interview me. Okay. Also lined up after that, I'm not dodging the question because I'll come back to it in a moment. We have the incredible Jack Marchant, who we both know.
Yes.
And I've had chats.
Love Jack.
Yeah. And I've had chats with Jack, and I've interviewed Jack in the past, and we met when we came to be in London. And I know Jack is very open about incredible trauma that he's experienced in life, and yet what an amazing creative person he is, and supports other people in being creative. And Jack was very, very open for this discussion that the three of us can have together. And I know elements of how Jack copes will come through in that discussion, because that's how he's shared in interviews that I've had with him in the past.
Yeah.
Then beyond that, so that's episode 7. We're beginning to get a schedule going now. Your mum, Margaret.
Yes.
Margaret, I'd love to get your mum in place, set up for episode 8. So we're beginning to see other people joining us, which is always something that we talked about the plan of.
Yes.
So in discussions, we've already talked about the comments for this particular subject and sharing more. So of course, when you encourage others to do that, nobody, if we think of the subject we're talking about today, anxiety, when somebody says, I know something's not right, I know something's wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it is just me, but when somebody does that, and maybe there either is or isn't something wrong, I find that incredibly stressful. Because
when they ask you that,
if they pursue it, I don't think sort of the asking it is a problem, but it's just when no, don't say everything's all right. I know it's not. Tell me. It's like, whoa, we need to balance. This is my feeling. With yes, of course, we want to help somebody find out, but we're not looking to extract information. And for me, I'm developing the comfort of feeling able to share more without the toxic side salad of guilt, shame, how can I talk about me? And sometimes that's a reality, by the way. It's not a perception. From experience, I've done it, and then straight away there's a comment, or there's a text, or etc., etc. So here's the thought, what makes me anxious. So writing songs, putting music out, sharing a new single, sharing a new album doesn't make me feel anxious. So I have no concern. Once I've written something, created it, put it out.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, when I do what we're doing now, or I do an interview, I do a walk and talk in TikTok, whatever it might be, generally I don't get concerned about what I say. The anxiety that I have is being misunderstood.
Yeah.
And for all of my life, that's been the case. So at times I have this feeling of the desire to need to explain the response. Yeah, I know you're smiling because I know you know it's the case. Oh, Mel, that was beautifully done of you. uh, I'm
Oh, I
I'm
don't know what you're
sure
talking about,
yeah,
Ray.
I'm sure I almost heard you say amen under your breath then. Uh, but
Mm,
that's the reason why, because I do share some quite straight things at times in the public things that I share and in conversation. In private conversation, at times, I'm even more direct. I'm
yeah.
definitely more direct now than I used to be. But I think, like you said about Leslie,
Mm,
that directness, I think what concerns me is the misunderstanding of being a know-it-all. Being a know-it-all.
yeah.
I think that's probably a little bit closer for me. I get anxious and concerned, which is not my concern, to be fair, because that's perception and some people will. So I think an ongoing development for me is I feel safe in song.
Yeah.
I feel safe in song because I can share when people listen deeply to
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
lyrics. I can share some really, really deep personal things.
And I'm actually very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. With my songwriting, it is coming out of my head,
Yeah.
it's a release. It's almost a release. Yeah.
I've cried when I've listened to a few of the songs you've written.
Mm.
I have, because I feel it, and it's a good thing to talk about. Not everybody's a songwriter, as in people are listening to us, but there are
Mm.
valves that we can use that
Mm.
through other means, whether it's art, writing,
Mm.
exercise. That's a
Just
good one.
writing it down as well. Just
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
write it down. It doesn't have to be poetry. It can just
No,
be how you feel. Yeah.
yeah. It's expression, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
expression. Yeah, we
Well,
are.
it's getting it out, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because it's unhealthy to keep it in.
yeah.
And that can cause so much damage.
Yes, and definitely I know for me, I'm not doing this as a scare mechanism for others. My cancer was 100%, totally,
Mm.
categorically, because of shutting my voice down.
Yeah.
Louise Hay writes a lot about this, and there's been much research and study
Hmm.
into various places, which is not attributing guilt or
No,
scaring
it's
people, but it
transference, isn't it? Pain transference.
yes, yeah, and
Yeah.
and that could be in other illnesses, of course, too. So
Yeah.
I think this is why I'm moved, motivated to share, because I think we all begin with us. We all begin with us. We all
Hmm.
begin with what the experience of life is like for us. So I'm beginning to find it easier, which is why I felt very, very comfortable asking you to ask me some questions.
Yeah.
And I actually like it, and it's become more because I want people to ask, to find out, to explore. And
Mm.
in my own life, my training work, my driving work, I have some really, really open conversations. I have to be a little cautious at times, of course,
Mm.
because of the setting. But I found a lot of people who've said, that was really, that felt like a therapy session. And the
Okay.
reason it did is because we talked.
Yes.
And we shared, and we
Yeah.
listened, and we opened up about being human. That's how I see Hope Out of Trauma. So for
Mm.
me, that's easing my anxiety.
Mm.
TikTok Lives, tons of toxic comments. Lots of places of social media are toxic. It's not just TikTok.
Mm.
They all have that element.
Yeah.
Where I found myself now, because I'm working with the anxiety over that
Hmm.
feeling of being misunderstood and misrepresented, that I don't concern myself with it and I don't respond to it, because I have pretty much a 50-50 view. Some people are going to get it, some people aren't.
Yeah.
It's not going to be for everybody. So that's fine. But I would like, through what we're sharing, to really, really open up that space, which is why I often talk about the comments.
Yeah.
Because I think the more we can have people sharing, I know, back to the car again. Some people have said things to me, and I thought, you know what, that's really, really, I'm going to take that with me into the rest of the week and beyond.
Mm.
So this is what we can do. This is how we can influence. That's what I see an influencer as. How can we improve? How can we improve? And how can we improve the lives of others? So I'm not going to ask you, Mel, but have you got any idea of some of the questions that you might ask me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I've got 5 weeks worth of questions to ask you and put you on the spot.
great.
My
Well,
mum often says I look like a rabbit in headlights when you're asking me a question.
now it's
And I
my
said,
turn.
well, I don't know how else to be, because he just pings it at me and I'm thinking,
So now
that's my anxiety. There you are. I found one.
So it's like a cliffhanger now.
Yeah.
Now's your chance. Now's your chance, and we're going to do that next time. Yeah.
Perfect.
Great to be with you, Mel. Thank you so much. So encourage people to keep with us, comment, like, subscribe. We've got some really, really good discussions coming up, and we want that hope out of trauma. That's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And even the comments, if you want your name to be kept out of it, that's fine. We don't need to mention names, do we, if they don't want us to?
I
just want to hear from them. That would be good.
Absolutely. And I think in YouTube, I'm sure there's a facility where somebody can remain anonymous if they want to. So great comment. Look forward to seeing you next time, Mel. I know you can have a long list. And
I am. It's going to go on and on and on.
Wonderful.
No, I'm not going to do that to you. Don't worry.
Your voice, it may feel like an echo. Your voice, it may feel just like an echo. Fear stumbling in shadows, life was drawn the light from your bones. Then let this be for you. Let courage guide you home. Your voice, it may feel like an echo. Life's hand has dealt you this pain. Then let this be for you. Let hope guide you through dark